Yeah, I guess, like part of like this show is like kind of just talking about how San Francisco's changed and trying to kind of equate, um, like when people go into an area, right, and like kind of gentrify it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see this migration of like the homeless that were from that area migrating to a different part, and also materials, right? Because like people are starting to renovate their homes and like materials. So like, can you like kind of see that through?
Somewhat, for sure. A lot of what we get for the deconstruction actually is more from more south in the peninsula than
Okay.
than San Francisco itself.
Okay.
But there certainly is some. I will say that, I mean, I initially came here as a tourist in '96. Then went back to college and did all this world in between, living in New Orleans and traveling and doing all kinds of stuff. Then I moved here for sure, solid at '99. So I've seen the transition of many neighborhoods and some businesses and some things because I've lived in different parts of the town. I first
Right.
lived in the Mission.
Okay. Yeah.
That was big, and then moved just to the outskirts of it on 25th Street near Kansas. Well, my name is Jennifer Gurgovits. Everyone at work calls me Angel.
Okay.
I work at Building Resources. I've worked there for 15 years.
Cool. And like, what is building resources? How long has it been around?
Building Resources has been around for about 25 years. We take in used building materials from contractors, homeowners, artists, and any folks alike, and we then resell them to the public at a major discount rate. And we process, I don't know how many tons per year, kind of thing of material. It's quite massive, and there's less and less of us to process that. But I won't go into about that.
Well, I don't know. I think that's kind of interesting. I mean, like, why do you mean there's less and less of you guys to process
There's
material?
less staff members
Yeah.
since when I was first working there. I guess when I first started working there was also these other companies that would do these, bottle buybacks, where they would buy all your bottles and cans for however much, and then that profit from selling those cans to the recycling companies and however what would then make some kind of profit for us to keep on with more programs and such.
And that's kind of gone away, or
Well, I don't know how many sites there were to begin with, but there was one on Webster Street. There was one that was known as Hank, which is now Kezar Gardens.
okay.
And there was one on Market Street, right there at the Safeway. That was the last hold. And they all just somehow, like, other places, took over. I don't really exactly know how they went under, not went under per se, but just
ceased to kind of exist.
Just ceased to kind of exist. Yeah. So now we're the last holding of it. But I guess the extra funding from those programs or from those recycling sites helped fund, like, initially Red Shovel, which was the tumbled glass.
Okay, gotcha.
And
Well, and then how did that like program come to be?
oh, well, there wasn't like any extra funding for it per se.
Sure.
It just was an idea that some of the staff members came up with a couple of years back. So yeah, they made this huge effort towards cleaning out that side and emptied it out, and put in some new siding where that redwood is on the bottom, and the wall, of course,
Yeah,
and
for
what
sure.
all. So it's interesting. I mean, if you look up the blog, of course, we're glamdream.com. I don't mean to sound like an advertisement.
No, you should.
If you look at it, you'll see the current show, and then you can scroll backwards for like 6 years.
Cool. So you guys do a pretty good job of archiving all that.
Well, it just is on there.
And so do you feel like, I guess, are you that kind of bleeding heart that you see something and you don't want to see it go to waste sort of thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of my things that I've collected, not necessarily what you see here in front, but some of the things over the years I've collected was because, like, I knew it was slated for the dumpster, and I'm like, oh no, wait a minute, I can do something totally cool with this.
For sure.
But after a while you have to, like, just let it go, and just let it go to that quote unquote other place.
For sure.
But I'd much rather it didn't, because I mean, that's not why people went out of their way to bring it to us.
For sure, yeah. But some things you got to let go, and I guess, so do you, I don't know, is there like some sort of part of your job that becomes like kind of, it's like a, like with my place in Death Valley, so what we do is we build sculpture out of like recycled material, and we don't say no to anything. We just bring it all in, and then we try to like find a home for it. And I feel like through that sort of like trying to find an extra space for something, it's like an alchemical process with yourself, right? You're like you like learn how to heal parts of yourself, or you learn how to like not throw away or rearrange certain parts of yourself. Do you think that it's become kind of like a life practice in some sort of way, or
there's been always that way for me? My growing up, my aunt and uncle ran the garbage company, and they're like rural, 200 population town in Ohio.
Okay.
And so they actually had the garbage truck on the property, which was a couple like this is like a small little like pile of acres, like not a huge part of land.
Yeah, sure.
But big enough parcel that like they could stretch out and park or whatever,
For sure.
anything anywhere. And so I would see, at Christmas time, for instance, he would salvage these trains and things since he's a mechanic.
Cool.
And that was all recycled parts. So early on, I was like appreciating, like, no, this needs to be saved, So there's definitely like, and when I was working with the glass, I was working in that huge shed. So I had plenty of space to start tucking things away.
Yeah, right.
And if it was anything else, I could just learn what it was. I was like fascinated because I hadn't seen so many of the things that I was coming across working at Building Resources.
Yeah,
I've learned a lot about the construction business just from the materials I've handled, not because I've actually like switched out a toilet or like hung a door or any of that sort of thing, but I kind of know a little bit about it now that I've been around the materials. For
sure. So it's kind of giving you like a DIY sort of attitude in a lot of ways.
For sure.
I mean, do you think that like that sort of attitude should come back? Do you think it's like lost and should come back, or like, what do you because it's interesting. You've kind of seen.
I don't know that it's lost. I mean, I think again, it's just it's its own thing, and like working with recycled materials actually kind of takes longer than just going to Lowe's and buying it new and just throwing it up there. It kind of is like that's kind of easier.
It almost has to be a lifestyle because you have to collect it. You have to collect it. You have to like wait and be patient until you find the next.
Well, yeah, for me, like I'll find something, and then like it could be years until like I find the right thing that fits right in there, and it's and I'll find this. I'm like, oh wait a minute, there's that.
Yeah. No, I know
the walls open up and something else happens, and whatever else. It's like it's kind of like that.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean.
I'll keep shapes in mind, and I'll see something and like, wait, that fits right there. And so part of me walking around the yard, like, I won't like move like big things or like get like a whole like block of things done, but I'll kind of pick up a little bit of everything along the way.
I feel like the cities kind of deal with recycled material, or just people, maybe humanity in general deals with like things on a value scale, you know what I mean? So if people can't pay for the housing, well then you're kind of pushed to the side, and then when you're done drinking that can, or when you're done using that thing, it's no longer valuable. It gets pushed to the side. And I think it's interesting that you spend your time, you spend your work working on in the industry of like catching these things and making them look valuable for people, and like saying that there is still a value to this sort of material. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know, is that like super gratifying for you, or do you?
It certainly can be. Yeah, sometimes I kind of forget about that idealistic like high cloud moment of like really enjoying what I'm doing when it's like the day-to-day shuffle of like being out there in like the 100-degree heat like it has been lately, and then like
for sure
trying to remember to hydrate and move things, and people kind of get in your nerves, or they just kind of come in angry or something. Like there's some interesting personalities that come around there,
No doubt.
But so aside from all that, when I can separate that and just be like, enjoying where I'm at, like I definitely think that I'm doing good for the world. Like I would have liked to have not gone to work that day and like march with 1,000 billion people for the climate strike,
but you're putting.
I was doing my climate strike by working where I do, in a sense,
Absolutely, yeah.
But I mean, in terms of back to your show, I'm one of the lucky ones, like for sure. Like I haven't really ever been displaced
Sure.
that way. You know, I've certainly seen it around me, and like some of my friends have left because they couldn't afford to be here, or they had to travel, or whatever else they've gone. So I'm one of the lucky ones now, like having this house and my job and that sort of thing. So I feel pretty stable. But I just kind of look around. I'm like, well, yeah, I am.